49 inches, 240 Hz, and a fire QD-OLED display. This is the INNOCN 49Q1S Super Ultra-Wide Gaming Monitor. Now, I just reviewed the INNOCN 49Q1R, which shares almost the same specs, but the biggest difference is a faster refresh rate, which is now 240 Hz versus 144 Hz on the 49Q1R. It's slightly more expensive, but this might be your best choice for those fast-paced competitive games while still having a massive 49-inch display with a 32:9 aspect ratio. This 49Q1S also features Samsung's second-gen QD-OLED panel that delivers incredibly vibrant colors, true blacks, and an ultra-fast 0.03 millisecond response time, making it an awesome option for both creative workflows and immersive gaming. You also get a semi-gloss anti-reflective coating, which gives you amazing clarity and colors compared to a matte display, but just keep in mind that in intense lighting, you'll have the infamous magenta tint, which affects all QD-OLED monitors. For inputs, this monitor is stacked with many options. You get two DisplayPort 1.4, two HDMI 2.1, one USB-C that supports DisplayPort and 90 watts of power delivery, a USB 3.0 upstream port with two USB-A 3.0 ports, a 3.5mm audio out, and finally an Ethernet port, which is very rare to see. Now, I love the fact that you get two display ports and higher power delivery for the USB-C, which also works perfect with its built-in KVM features and having two separate inputs side by side. This monitor retails for about $1,250, but there's a good chance you can find it for way less since this monitor is currently on sale, which I'll leave the affiliate links down below. Huge thanks to INNOCN for sending this out to me so I can showcase to you guys. Now, taking a look at the design, I really like the clean and minimal look with subtle RGB accents on the back that you can control in the menu settings. In the front, the top three sides have slim bezels, with the bottom having a slightly larger bezel with an extra glossy bar on the bottom that also has a 4-directional joystick to control the menu. The stand gives you your usual height, tilt, and swivel support, but it does take up a good amount of desk space since it needs to support a huge screen. This is why I highly recommend going with a monitor arm, because not only does it make your setup look way cleaner, but it also frees up valuable space. Just make sure you get a heavy-duty monitor arm that's rated for a 49-inch super ultra-wide monitor. Testing out the gaming performance of this monitor, I'll be using my 5090 gaming PC and later on the PS5. After using the 49Q1R that had only 144 Hz, I can confidently say that 240 Hz makes a noticeable difference when you're gaming with high FPS. Competitive action-packed games like Black Ops is buttery smooth, and thanks to the built-in adaptive sync, it'll sync up with NVIDIA G-Sync for tear-free gaming. Now, you do need to manually turn it on in the monitor settings for it to work. The 32:9 aspect ratio gives you a ton of field of view, but it might not be the most optimal in first-person shooters. Thankfully though, you can always change the aspect ratio in-game if you want to play in a standard 16:9, which on this monitor is the same as a 27-inch 1440p monitor. The only downside is having black borders on each side, but thanks to OLED giving you true blacks, it honestly doesn't distract you and can almost disappear when you're gaming in the dark. Now, for single player adventure style games, the super ultra wide format looks incredible and really immerses you in. To get an idea how your GPU would perform driving the full resolution of 5120 by 1440, I would recommend looking into 4K benchmarks, since this monitor has double the pixels of a standard 1440p monitor, but about 12% less pixels versus 4K. For games that don't support the full 32:9 aspect ratio, you'll still be able to enjoy other games that support the 21:9 ultra-wide aspect ratio like Black Myth Wukong. It still looks amazing, and there are even some games that have additional mod support for super ultra-wide gaming. Now, for my console gamers, the 49Q1S has two HDMI 2.1 ports, which is awesome for next-gen consoles. On the PS5, you can enable 1440p output, and with this monitor's adaptive sync, it'll also support the max variable refresh rate of 120 Hz. By default, the PS5 will also output an HDR, so make sure you turn HDR on in the menu settings of the monitor, or you can turn off HDR on the PS5. Now, it's important to know that the PS5 doesn't have true ultra-wide support, so it's basically stretching out the image to fit the full screen, which you may or may not like. You can change the aspect ratio to 1:1, but it will only allow you to change it when you have HDR and adaptive sync off. Once you make the switch, you can turn HDR back on, but this also means you won't be able to have VRR. It'll still support 120 Hz though, which is great, and even though I lose VRR, I prefer the true 16:9 when gaming on the PS5. The built-in speakers on this monitor come in handy if you don't have external speakers. I'll leave the gameplay audio at a normal level so you can hear them in action. They sound way better than the 49Q1R, which I'm happy about and is great to have as a backup just in case. For laptop users, the USB-C port with 90 watts of power delivery is perfect for power-hungry laptops, and it also syncs up with the monitor's KVM switch. I always plug in my mouse and keyboard on the back of the monitor so I can easily use it on my gaming PC or on my MacBook for a seamless experience. My MacBook Pro can also support the full 240Hz with just a single USB-C cable. There's also picture-by-picture support, so you can have two separate inputs split perfectly into two 27-inch 1440p displays. The refresh rate is limited to 60Hz though, but it's still a great feature for those that have multiple devices. You can even use picture-in-picture for a smaller box that you can position in any corner of the monitor. I want to go over the menu settings of this monitor. Now, to access the menu, of course, we have a 4-directional joystick right on the bottom here that you can select, and this little screen will pop up. Selecting it again will bring up the actual home menu, or you can have different shortcuts here. But for now, we're going to go into the menu settings. Starting with the first option, we have professional, and here is where you can change your different color settings. By default, it's set to standard mode, but you can switch to any of these and get into more details of sharpness, shadow balances, low blue lights, and even enable dynamic brightness if you want to enable that. The next menu setting we have is picture settings, and here of course you can set the brightness, contrast levels, and even enable HDR. So that's one thing that you do need to be aware of, that this monitor does not have an auto HDR feature. So whenever you turn on HDR, you do have to go back in the menu settings and actually turn it on to either one of these HDR options. The next option here is game settings, and here you can change the different color profiles of the actual screen depending on what type of games you have. These are completely optional if you want to enable them, but that'll definitely change the color profile. You do have to select each one of them and kind of decide which one you like. Now, the one thing I do want to cover is the adaptive sync here, which by default it is set to off. So whenever you want to enable G-Sync or FreeSync, you do have to have this completely turned on in order for you to be able to sync up, and that also includes a PS5 as well. Outside of that, we do have a refresh rate counter. We also have game crosshair, so you have different crosshair settings here. It doesn't show us what it is. You have to select each one and leave the actual menu to get an idea of what that crosshair is. And then right on the bottom of the game settings, we have ambient lighting, and that controls the RGB on the back of the monitor. Next up we have is picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture. So this definitely supports both of those features. Next option we have is OSD settings, very self-explanatory. You can change the settings of this actual on-screen display. And the last option here is other settings. The only thing that I want to cover here is the KVM switch here. So by default, it is set to type B. You can manually switch it to type C. The menu setting is pretty snappy, so I do like how easy it is to switch around certain things. Just keep in mind that there are certain things that you have to manually turn on for certain features. So is the INNOCN 49Q1S worth getting for your desk setup? Well, if you're looking for a super ultra-wide OLED monitor to boost your productivity and immerse yourself in beautiful adventure-style games, then this monitor and even the 49Q1R are both perfect options. But the real reason why you would want to pay more for this one is to have that faster 240Hz refresh rate, which is not only optimal for fast-paced gaming, but it also makes everything else smoother, like browsing the web and scrolling. I think it's worth going for the higher refresh rate if you know you're going to be playing competitive titles and have a good gaming PC to handle higher frames. This monitor does amazing in both work and play. You're getting amazing contrast, buttery smooth gaming, and a QD-OLED panel that looks stunning compared to your standard IPS or VA monitors. For those reasons, I highly recommend upgrading your setup with this beast of a monitor. If you're interested in getting this or the many tech that you've seen in this video, I will have a few links down below, which also helps to support the Firewolf Tech channel. I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and I would love your support with a like, share, and subscribe. Firewolf out.